Welcome to Stage Pass. My guest this week is from Northern Virginia. She's a harpist, and her name is Abbie Palmer. Abbie, you told me something the other day that took me completely by surprise, that you recorded this album by yourself, playing every instrument from the room that you're sitting in today talking to me.
Yeah, exactly. It was right here. It was a really cool learning opportunity because, and I will say, I did have a mentor, and he did help me. He was there to ask questions, but I think I had done it enough in the past, and every time I've recorded an album in the past, like I sit there and watch the engineer and really study what they're doing, how they edit, that kind of thing. So this was amazing because I just had the perks of I didn't have to pay for studio time, and for everyone who does go to a studio, and for every engineer listening to this, I hope they're not cursing my name, But I was just able to take that time for me, and really dig in and just learn how to use a DAW, and so I feel confident now that, I can now record any album I want and just kick it off,
On the album, one of the things that you told me that I also thought was fascinating was you taught yourself MIDI when you were doing the percussion in this.
Yes. Yeah. So that was part of my venture because I want a full sound, and I knew what I wanted this album to sound like. And in the process of just doing everything myself, it was kind of a journey that I stumbled on more. And like as an acoustic player, because I've always been, I play folk music originally. I come from like a Celtic background. I played classical music in college. I felt like, and I don't know if anyone's going to laugh at this, but like I felt like creating MIDI tracks was cheating, Like I felt like it was just like, wait, I can just like create information and just put a sound on it. That doesn't have to be anyone playing, and like I can just like loop that and do different things, get a bass line going, get all these different sounds. And I've talked with some more electronic musicians recently because I'm starting to tap more into that. And I'm like, is it cheating though? And they're always like, nah, like you just got to do what you got to do. So yeah, so I wrote, and I really I dug into just like writing it all with my mouse, just like creating all these bass lines, creating all these percussion tracks. And people have asked me like, so where are all these instruments? And I was like, the only instrument that I played on this whole album was I played the harp, and I played guitar on one. Other than that, everything was it. Oh, and also another thing is with the harp, one thing that I do when I do albums now, and I'll tell you the story of how this came out, but I will always do like a harp track where I'm playing the chords like a rhythm guitar player, and then I'll do another harp track where I'm playing the bass on the harp.
Really?
Yeah. And the reason for that is on, past probably a decade ago, I was making an album with a couple folks. It was like my band, and and this is some juicy information, but about 2 weeks, the guitar and bass player who was going to play on the album was my boyfriend at the time.
Yeah.
2 weeks before we went in the studio, we broke up.
Oh.
So I had to figure out how to play all the bass lines for this whole album. So now forevermore, I know how to be a bass player also on the harp. So like that's kind of how that works with these recordings, is that, and you might, when you're listening, you might hear like that. Sometimes the bass lines are like written MIDI that I did, but a lot of it too was just me playing bass on the harp.
I've seen you play guitar. I've seen, of course, play harp, and you play harp in just about every genre of music I can think of. And you had, and I saw a banjo sitting in your room there, so you've taken up banjo as well.
Yeah, banjo is like a fun, and you said you play banjo too, right?
My father did, actually.
Yeah. banjo's so fun. Like, I don't know. You know what's funny is, so I'm also a music therapist, and I had and before I became a full-time musician about a year and a half ago. But before that, I was a full-time music therapist in actually a brain injury clinic on a military base
Wow.
here, Fort Belvoir, up in Northern Virginia, Mount Vernon area. And so I had big, beautiful office, and I did that for about 4 years. And I had one client who came to me and said, I want to work on the banjo. And so I picked it up, and I was like, I'm never played banjo, so like I picked it up with him. And I fell in love with it, And so I don't know, it's also really interesting playing the banjo, because as a harpist, my right hand is very conditioned for, like I'm just picking melody out the whole time. And so it's very satisfying, because I could just sit there at the banjo and just like wail on some arpeggios, and it's so fun. So like it's like very gratifying. It's, again, I was taking banjo lessons for a little while, and I think my teacher started rolling his eyes at me, because I was like, I just want to play it like a harpist. Do I have to play it like a banjo player? But yeah, it's my little crush. I call it my crush instrument. I have a crush on it. It's like not like my long-term relationship, but it's like my like side little crush that I like to go.
And you play ukulele as well, right?
I do. Yeah, I do play ukulele. I teach it. It's not something that I would perform on per se. But along the way, you pick up different instruments, just doing that, especially in music therapy. Honestly, in school, we were trained, we have to be proficient on piano, guitar, and voice. And then you have like an extra instrument that you specialize in. And mine happened to be the harp. So yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the music therapy, Abbie. What is music therapy?
Yeah. It's funny, in school, my professors, this is a question that my professors prepared us for, because it is a great question. What is music therapy? So many people, it's, a lot of people ask me, like, if I like sit, my clients like lie down on a couch and I play harp for them. That's like what people think music therapy is, like very Freudian, So really, though, if you think about, it's just a different mindset around music. So music therapists approach music as a tool to accomplish therapeutic goals in whatever population or any setting they're working with. Some music therapists work with kids with like developmental disabilities, autism, Down syndrome, that kind of thing, cerebral palsy. Some music therapists work in geriatrics and nursing homes with Alzheimer's and dementia. Some, music. My specialty for many years was hospice care. So I worked with end of life, and the harp was a really amazing tool in that setting. But any population, some music therapists work in schools, and they, just work in school settings, and some music therapists work in hospitals. Really, they're all over the place, and it's really a growing field. And what I recommend to people is, before anyone kind of develops more thoughts around it, just do a Google search, just research, see what's out there. Check out the American Music Therapy Association. There's really amazing stuff. My big emphasis in music therapy was therapeutic songwriting. And it's because I am a songwriter. And so much of, there is so much therapeutic benefit, and we call it externalization, where when you are songwriting, and I used to do this with my soldiers that I worked with PTSD, where I would actually have them write songs about their traumatic events in deployment overseas. And the therapeutic process of taking something that they are burying deep inside them and putting it out, and not only bringing it out and talking about it, writing about it, but also creating it into something that is now a piece of art. It's a song, And then from there, that process of listening to it and developing it and, having it say exactly what they want to say. Sometimes I would help the soldiers, in GarageBand, turn it into a recording. And so, I admit my album is also my own therapy. There's some songs in there that have some meaning that I have not even said to the world, But I think every song is like that,
I think
because
it is too.
that's songwriting,
Abbie, what can you tell me about the song Smallest Moments? Because when I listen to your EP, that's the track that sounds like it should go to radio, at least to my ear.
Yeah. And you are not the first person who said that too. I've heard that from others. So this is funny, talk about songwriting. This song I wrote at kind of a difficult point in my life, as so many songs come out of, and a lot of people think it's a love song because, the chorus is, as I'm busy in the world that I've made, I see glimmers of you in the smallest moment. It sounds very like romantic. It sounds like a past love, like you love somebody and then like you get like little like memories of them throughout life. But it's actually a song about God.
Huh.
And I am not even a religious person.
Huh.
I kind of associate as being spiritual, but it's one of those things where it's a reminder, and the song and the lyrics go through like I see you in like the echo of a voice in the woods. I see you on the dewdrops on a spider's web. Like going through all these like very small things that we take a second, like it takes us, it's a very fine detail.
Yeah.
But in this point in my life, I just felt like I was in a thunderstorm of phase of my life. Everything was a mess.
Yeah.
But it's those, I like part of my spiritual mindset is like taking that second to stop and remind yourself to see the small things,
Yep.
And it's not just like stop and smell the roses, it's like not just that, but it's seeing purpose in the fine details. So that's really what that song's about. And, throughout my life, I've also had a very complicated relationship with God.
Like the kitchen tiles and glisten like the backyard hose. I dance like nobody knows. It echoed through a dense forest and sung like a vast chorus. I could never quite touch its scent, but through the days it came and went. As I'm busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you in the smallest moment. Busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you. Busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you in the smallest moment. Busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you. It shimmered like a dew on crescent, intertwined like a spider's breast. I stopped to wonder how it knows. In the end is a red, red rose. As I'm busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you in the smallest moment. Busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you. Busy in the world that I'm made, I see glimmers of you in the smallest moment. Busy in the world that I'm made,
I have always felt one of the trademarks of a really good songwriter was their ability to draw our attention to the obvious things that a lot of us look at all the time but never really see. And you have just given me an entirely different perspective on this song. And now I've got to go back and listen to it again myself.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But that's the cool thing. Like, and that's what I love about songwriting is I think the goal for me as a songwriter is to create a song that is kind of like it fits everybody's perception, no matter who's listening, when or where. So like for me, like I wrote a song about one thing, but somebody else might listen to that song and be like, oh, that song's about this for me. And so other people can listen to a song and actually develop a relationship with it of their own. I think that's my goal, is like when somebody listens to that and they're like, that made me feel things about my own life that is totally different, So, yeah.
What's your favorite track off the EP? Do you have one that is a personal favorite of yours?
I love performing the tree, and I'll tell you why. Because the tree is kind of becoming like, I think in like live performance in the DC area, like it's kind of becoming like one of the more well-known songs that I play. People are like, oh, play the tree, like people are starting to learn about it. And the reason is because, it's about a tree, obviously. But it's about this really simple idea of I fell in love with a tree when I was a kid that I used to climb, and we love different things as we go through life. And like when we get older, we fall in love with our significant other, or, we we love different things. But as a kid, having this romance with this tree, and sitting in it and dancing with it as like the branches would wave, this is kind of the imagery that I use. I started talking about it at gigs, and it's an amazing conversation starter of just saying like, hey, does anyone have a tree that you used to climb as a kid? And, 2/3 of every audience is nodding their head saying, yeah, I had that tree, And even the mentor it was so funny. Even the mentor I worked with for this album, he and I were sitting there and we were digging into the mixing a little bit, and we're working on the tree. And there's like this moment of silence, and he just stops and he goes, I had a tree too.
It's a special tree. I used to sing to it. I used to dance the wind with me. And we sway, sway, sway in the wind. And we'd sway, sway, sway in the wind. And we'd sway, sway, sway in the wind. And we'd sway, sway, sway in the wind. Tree on a hill, so long ago, life was simple, and no branches. Tree on a hill, so long ago, life was simple, and no branches. Tree on a hill. So long ago, life was simple, and no branches. Tree on a hill. So long ago, life was simple, and no branches.
I found Abbie to be one of the most unique artists that I've ever had the pleasure of talking to, and I hope in time we may get to see more of her here in Hampton Roads. Thanks for joining us this week on Stage Pass. We'll be back next week with my guest, Shane Cooley. Stage Pass has been brought to you by the Jones Art Gallery, featuring 3 generations of amazing artistry. The Jones Art Gallery, located at 184 Central Park Avenue in Virginia Beach Town Center. I'm Michael Monahan, and I hope to see you again next week on Stage Pass.